So in today's video, I'm going to be discussing things that I wish I knew before starting architecture school. Having graduated from the Part 1 course, looking back, there's a couple things I wish I knew earlier. So by sharing them with you today, hopefully you can act on them straight away. I think the number one piece of advice I can give to any prospective architecture student is manage your time. At the beginning of the course, there's about 4 or 5 modules that all go on at the same time, and their deadlines are also very close to each other, either in the same week or within a 2-week period. So by writing down the list of all the modules you have, then the reviews you have during term, and then the final deadline, you can organise a structure that allows you to give equal time to all units so you don't fall behind. From this, you can also break down a week-by-week plan of what you need to get done by the given specific date, so that you stay on track. For me, and I'm sure for many others, when it gets down to the final month or final couple of weeks before the submissions, the planning and time management becomes a daily schedule, and it's about finalising and finishing off the remaining tasks before hand-in. Tip number 2 is consistency and discipline. We often hear from motivational speakers such as The Rock or David Goggins that nothing good will come unless you stay consistent and disciplined. But during architecture school, this comes into play quite a bit. You're bombarded with projects, from the main design project through to the technology module, the representation unit, and the history and theory module, and they're all going on at the same time. It can become quite overwhelming to start with, but if you do step 1 and create a plan and manage your time, you can tackle each project section by section, and the process will turn from what was once stressful and annoying to enjoyable and exciting. Being committed and thinking in the long term will really help you, especially when it gets down to the final parts of the project. And after all the work you've put into your projects, being burned out doesn't benefit anyone. Your tutors will like to see you spend a lot of time on your projects, and based off the previous tip, you should discipline yourself to commit to the course. But an underrated and undervalued factor during your time at architecture school, and tip number 3 of this video, is to rest and allow room for breaks. Whether it's a walk, a run, playing sports, or watching Netflix, give yourself time to detach from all the intense work you've been doing throughout the day. It can often get too much when you're always thinking about your projects, or if you should have just finished that drawing before you went to bed. But over time, you'll give yourself boundaries to which you work with, and when you sense you aren't being productive anymore, it's time to stop and pay attention to the rest your body and mind needs. When it comes to sitting down and beginning the design process, we often think it's just going to be one big block of sitting at the desk and just sketching away, but that's where many get it wrong. Tip number 4 is maximize all elements of designing. In order to show the complexities of our work and how we have explored every inch of detail, you need to use multiple methods of design. That could be through model making, really quick scrap material models, or more detailed artistic styles of representation. It really comes down to your style of work, but even if you don't think it's for you, give it a go. I mean, in second year, I really didn't want to invest a lot of time into model making because I thought it would take up so much unnecessary time when I could just be drawing. But by spending the time to make models, sketching your unconventional ideas and layering them, or creating computational designs, it really is about exploring multiple methods of design so that you can have a very sophisticated project. And it also looks nice on your portfolio. With the rapid change in how architects need to tackle the climate crisis, tip number 5 feeds just into that, as you should design for tomorrow. Architecture schools are now really pushing their students to design solutions to existing and potential future risks and threats to humanity and the environment. In the past, this notion wasn't heavily considered, but now with factors such as COP26 and the RIBA Climate Challenge, as aspiring architects, it's extremely important to work towards creating these solutions and that your designs provide a sense of generating rather than consuming. For example, in my studio, my tutor explained that a couple of years ago there was this one student that designed their scheme based on the idea of a future pandemic. It's quite amazing, but shocking at the same time, that the scenario of their project actually happened. Although no drastic infrastructure changes occurred throughout the pandemic, apart from the global push to set up temporary hospitals and care units, the pandemic has opened up the discussion for how architects and designers think about space for much more flexible, resilient and adaptive uses. Building relationships with people on the course is a must and is tip number 6. There are a range of characters that have all chosen to study at the university you chose to go to as well, so that makes at least one common theme between you. But apart from their presence in studios, all of these people have so many different interests, hobbies, and skills that could be similar to yours. But if not, it's even better as you get to work with them, and more often than not, you learn a lot from each other. And in addition to course mates, it's equally as important to build relationships with your tutors. Some may offer you placements to intern or work at their practices during or after you finish your degree. But also the amount of knowledge and experience they have through their own careers really should inspire you to dedicate yourself more to the course and what you want to get out of it. Ask them questions. When they give you feedback on your designs, ask why they thought those specific elements should change. Have great discussions with them, because throughout your time at architecture school, you'll subconsciously pick up skills and habits from those in the years above and your tutors that can benefit you along your journey. This links to tip number 7. As important as it is to connect with people within your given circle, i.e. your peers, your tutors, and other members of the architecture community that you stumble across, I think it's extremely important to connect with people outside of architecture and outside of your field of work. And the final piece of advice that I'd give is don't limit yourself to just the built environment. We see how this ever-changing profession draws inspiration from a range of factors, whether it's technology, art, fashion, or even food. The key for tuning your frame of mind for designing is not to place constraints on yourself. We already know that later on during the design phases, your tutors will support you in moving your project from a conceptual and unconventional idea into a working and buildable scheme. It's just really important that during those first initial weeks, where you're given freedom to explore and expand your vision, that you don't go and simplify and become reserved. This will help you a lot, and even if later on down the road you don't want to become an architect, you can still transfer these skills to whatever creative profession you choose. So in summary, the key important factors that I wish I knew before I started architecture school were time management, consistency and discipline, allow room for breaks, maximize all elements of designing, design for tomorrow, build relationships, connect beyond your direct network, and don't limit yourself to just the built environment. I hope this video helps all prospective architecture students and those who have just started their degrees. Thank you so much for watching.